Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be doing a book unhaul. So the end of the year is coming up really soon, so it's time to clean off my shelves a little bit to make room for all of the Christmas presents that are going to be coming in. So this is gonna be a pretty short unhaul because I don't have that many books that I'm gonna be unhauling, because my last unhaul, I think I did a really good job of just getting rid of books that I didn't want. So these are more gonna be books that either I really don't think I'm gonna get to reading, or books that I don't think I'll ever be rereading for one reason or another. And I'm gonna have two sets of books in here. So the first set that I'm gonna go through are books that I'm just getting rid of, I don't want anymore. And then the second set are books that I'm gonna give one last chance to. So they're gonna become my wrapped books. So they're books that I haven't read, I don't feel like picking up, but I feel like I need to give them a shot before I get to them. So first we're gonna start with the books that I'm definitely unhauling. And the first book on this list is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. So I bought this book a long time ago. I recently unwrapped it and read it, and I was very disappointed by it. It was one of my most disappointing books of the year. It starts off really, really strong, but after the initial beginning that's really good, it's just super boring after that. So yeah, I don't see myself ever rereading this book, and I don't really need it on my shelf, because while I do have a lot of space on my shelf, I also have a lot of books, and I need space for all of those books. So I'm gonna be unhauling The Lovely Bones. This book, by the way, is about a girl who was brutally raped and murdered, and it's telling her story from the afterlife. So like, interesting concept, super interesting concept, but I really was bored by like 75% of this book. The next book that I'm gonna be unhauling, which makes me really sad because I wanted to love this book, was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I went into this book like really hoping that I would love it because I love the concept of it, because it's about a main character who falls in love, finds her one true love, and then he dies, and then she mourns him and goes through a bunch of grief and pain, and then finally she's coming out of it, she's finally moving on, she found another love, and she's finally like moved on with her life, and then her previous husband comes back to life. With this setup, I just felt like it should have made me like heartbroken with the decision that the main character has to make, but I didn't feel it. Like, I didn't feel heartbroken, like I didn't feel attached to any of the characters. I didn't feel as if the decision seemed that very hard to the main character. Like, she seemed pretty set on what she was gonna do from the very beginning, so it didn't really feel like tearing her heart out or anything like that. So yeah, it didn't really make me feel anything when it should have made me feel a lot, because it should have been a very emotional book. So I don't remember what I gave this book. I think it was like 2.5 stars or something like that, and I don't need it on my shelf. I'm never gonna reread this book, so I'm gonna be unhauling it. The next book on this list is Lagoon by Nndei Okorafor. This one also makes me really sad because I really wanted to like this book. This is a sci-fi novel set in Nigeria in which an alien invasion happens in Nigeria, which is just an interesting concept. I love the idea of it. This one I don't feel like is necessarily bad. I feel like this one's very interesting and there's a lot going on in this book, but it's just not my cup of tea, if that makes sense. And I really don't see myself ever really going back and reading this book. I mostly just read it for a readathon and for the diversity points for the readathon, and it's not the type of book that I would typically pick up. I don't see myself ever rereading it, so I'm gonna be unhauling it. The next books that I'm gonna be unhauling is the Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers, which includes The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, A Closed and Common Orbit, and Record of a Spaceborne Few. This is another one where I just feel like it's not really my cup of tea. I like sci-fi, but I like really action-packed sci-fi and ones that are less society-based. These are very more character-driven, society-based sci-fi, and I prefer ones that have a little bit more action in it, and books that are more about like the big concepts in science and what's possible about our future. Feels more like a contemporary book just set in these sci-fi settings, if that makes sense. And they're just, like I said, not my cup of tea. I did enjoy Record of a Spaceborne Few and The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Close and Common Orbit was really not one of my favorites at all. It was one of my most disappointing books of the year, but like this series overall, it's just not something that I see myself ever rereading, and it's just taking up space on my shelf, so I'm gonna be unhauling these as well. The next on this list is The Star-Touched Queen and A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. I read The Star-Touched Queen earlier this year. I think I finished it. I don't fully yes, I did finish it. I did finish The Star-Touched Queen, and it was not my favorite. I think the best way to describe why I didn't like this book, I said this once in one of my vlogs, was I have a fundamental difference of opinion with this book. It just doesn't work for me. I think the atmosphere and everything about this book, it's not bad necessarily, it's just not the type of book I would typically pick up, and it just doesn't work for me. I haven't read A Crown of Wishes, but this is the sequel to The Star-Touched Queen, so I feel like if I didn't like The Star-Touched Queen, there's a good chance I'm not gonna like Crown of Wishes. I don't feel like actually reading it, so I'm gonna be unhauling both of these. Oh, and The Star-Touched Queen is about, I believe she's a princess who apparently is cursed for a marriage of death and destruction, and her father makes an arranged marriage of political convenience. So like, it's not even necessarily the most high concept book. It just didn't work for me, let's put it that way. And the last book that I'm definitely unhauling is Death's Mistress by Terry Goodkind. So I got this recently in a book subscription box, and I think my book haul for this hasn't come out yet, and I'm already unhauling it, which is bad. Oh gosh, I'm not really enjoying this book subscription box as much as I was hoping to. I have one more box that's already paid for, so I'll wait for it, but I'm probably gonna cancel my subscription after that. Mostly because all of the books that I'm getting in this box, I find them on Book Outlet for less. So far, I've gotten 4 books from the book subscription box, and 3 of them are already ones that I don't really care to pick up. One of them I actually am interested in, but it's also one that I would have never picked up myself, if you know what I mean. Which is kind of the reason why I got the subscription box, to give me books that I would never think of picking up, but that I would be interested in reading. But unfortunately, the other 3 books are ones that I'm not really that interested in reading. This one is the first book in a sequel series to the Sword of Truth series, which I haven't read the Sword of Truth series, and if I do plan on reading this series, I would start with that one, but I have started the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind, and I didn't finish it. Like, I DNF'd the first book. Partially it's because I saw the show, and the show was okay, it wasn't great, but it definitely completely spoils the books. So the fact that I was reading the book and I wasn't that interested in the book, even after having seen the show, I didn't really feel like I needed to continue on with it. And since this is a sequel series, I really don't feel like continuing on with it. So yeah, I'm gonna be unhauling this book, which makes me sad because I don't want to unhaul a brand new book that I just got, but it's just, I'm never gonna pick this book up. Like, it's not gonna happen. So it doesn't need to be taking up place on my shelf. So now we're gonna move on to the books that I'm gonna give one last chance. So this is for my books that are gonna become wrapped books. So my wrapped books are books I was considering unhauling, but I do want to give one last chance before I actually unhaul it. And then every week I pick up one unwrapped book and try to read it. I have to make it through at least 50% of the book in order to keep it that week. There are 5 books on this list, so let's get to them. The first book on this list is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. So I picked up this book because I read one book by Patrick Ness, I think it was a Monster Calls, and I really, really loved it. So I wanted to read other books by him, and I've just never gotten around to actually picking up this book. I don't know anything about this book. Like, I don't know anything about it, but like, I never see myself actually like reaching for it to pick it up. So I feel like I'm not gonna read it unless I force myself to. So it's gonna be one of my unwrapped books, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. Like, hopefully I will, but as of right now, I don't see myself picking this book up. The next book on this list is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardoust. I had planned to read this book like in March of this year. Didn't get around to reading it because I didn't want to listen to the audiobook, so that's why I picked up the physical book of it, and I just haven't gotten around to picking up the physical book. Like, I just don't feel like picking it up. I never reach for it, and I don't know very much about this book other than it's a YA fantasy book and that has a lot of good reviews, so like, I'm interested in it, like definitely interested in it, but I never see myself actually reaching for it. And with the goals that I have for next year, I really don't see myself picking this book up. So it's gonna become one of my wrapped books. I'm gonna give it one last shot, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. So the next book on this list is Salt to the Sea by Ruta. It's a YA historical fiction book that I've had on my shelf for over a year now. I've put this on my TBR at least 2 or 3 months out of this year and still haven't gotten around to reading it. For some reason, I just never reach for this book. I honestly don't know what it's about other than I think it's set in, 1945, the winter of 1945. So this is a World War II historical fiction, which I actually do generally like, but like for some reason, nothing has like gravitated me towards this book. And I just feel like it's been on my shelf too long for me to not have read it yet. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll end up picking it up eventually, and hopefully I'll end up liking it as well. And the last 2 books are books from the book subscription box that I mentioned that I'm really not liking as much as I really wanted to. And the first one is Bellwether by Dennis Mahoney. So I got this like about 2 months ago. This is a book that seems to be trying to do everything. I believe I said it was like a Western mystery fantasy sort of feel to it, but set in a forest. So like, I don't know what this book is trying to do. I have no idea, but whatever it's trying to do, it feels like it's trying to just take a bunch of different genres and mash it up together. And I don't feel like reading it. But at the same time, it intrigues me enough that I do want to give it a shot. So it's gonna become one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. Like, this might actually be an amazing book and I just don't know it. But as of right now, there's nothing about this book that makes me want to pick it up. And the last one is The Perilous Prophecy by Liana, Rene, Heiber. So this book is a historical fantasy, and from what I understand, the writing in this book is very beautiful and atmospheric. So because of that, it gives me sort of like Night Circus-y vibes just from reading the back of the book, which like makes me want to read it. But other than that, like, there's not very much that makes me want to pick up this book. I don't see myself doing it in the new year or anytime soon. So that's why it's gonna become one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not that interested in it. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and if there's any that you think I should give a second chance. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos frequently on this channel, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.